Hi, Steve's, thanks.
Good choice. That'd be $52.99, thanks.
Thanks.
Repco, it starts with the parts.
Hi, Steve's, thanks.
Good choice. That'd be $52.99, thanks.
Thanks.
Repco, it starts with the parts. From the outside, who would know what lies beneath? Unleash it with a machine as savage as you are.
This is how legends are made.
Lenovo Legion. Stylish outside, savage inside.
The Repco Supercars Pro eSeries is proudly brought to you by Repco. It starts with the parts. The Repco Supercars Pro eSeries is proudly brought to you by Repco. It starts with the parts.
Hi, Steve's, thanks.
Good choice. That'd be $52.99, thanks.
Thanks.
Repco, it starts with the parts.
Hi, Steve's, thanks.
Good choice. That'd be $52.99, thanks.
Thanks.
Repco, it starts with the parts. From the outside, who would know what lies beneath? Unleash it with a machine as savage as you are.
This is how legends are made.
Lenovo Legion. Stylish outside, savage inside.
The Repco Supercars Pro eSeries is proudly brought to you by Repco. It starts with the parts. Week 1 had it all.
Green flag in the air for the first race of the championship.
Door-to-door racing.
And this will be an almighty move around the outside if he makes it stick.
and some high-flying action.
Webster straight and upside down goes Madison down. That is big.
This week, 2 more international destinations. First up, Montreal, Canada, and the famous circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Then we're off to Barcelona and the home of the Spanish Grand Prix, Catalunya. This is week 2 of the Repco Supercars Pro eSeries.
Time for some Tuesday night iRacing. Hi everybody and welcome to the Repco Supercars Pro eSeries. Great to have you virtually trackside for 3 big races, the second night of the championship. Jonathan, good evening to you, buddy. Last week, domination from the series champ, but there's been some news midweek and he has lost one of those victories.
Yeah, Josh Rogers did admit to not using the pit limiter, and here he is up on screen, probably having a phone call to be reminded to use the pit limiter.
Josh.
Exactly. So under the rule book and the supplementary regulations, you are required to use first gear throughout the entire transited pit lane, and you must have the pit limiter engaged. Josh Rogers failed to do that, lost the victory, lost the championship lead.
Yes, to his teammate, no less as well. So Dane Warren is now your Repco points leader heading into night number 2. It cost him quite a bit in the end, Josh Rogers, so not just that one race win, but the reverse grid race. He went all the way down. So Madison down very strong in that opening night, as is Jordan Caruso from the draft to 3rd in the points. A great start for him as well. Looking for a bit more from the Brad Jones Racing guys as well in Jake Burton, who's been really quick in qualifying. We'll talk more about that. There's been a bit of a change to the format to tonight's action as well, with a pair of coin qualifying sessions to set the grids for races 4 and 6. But the good news is reverse grid is going nowhere.
It's very similar to last week, isn't it? A street circuit into a longer style Grand Prix style venue such as Barcelona. Going to be action-packed as we had last round for round 1. We're hoping for less carnage. We had 4 DNFs in 1 round last week. Last year in 16 races, we had 3 DNFs.
Yeah, it was particularly in the reverse grid race. It got pretty wild. So there will be a reverse grid race at Montreal tonight. 2 Formula 1 circuits on the menu. And we're going to dive into Canada's famous circuit de Gilles Villeneuve right now with our next level track preview.
Montreal, Canada, the circuit Gilles Villeneuve, my personal favorite, and I've been here in the real world. It gives me some feels of Albert Park. It's one of the best circuits, in my opinion, in the world. And we're going to begin a lap here for round 2 of the E-Series. So to begin the lap, we're going to come out of the final chicane. We'll talk about this a little later on because this is a mammoth chicane, and then full throttle out of the final corner. I've actually seen people here where the grandstands are playing beach volleyball during the year. It's quite hilarious as we break into turn 1 and bleed off the brake just to get the front end to bite into the corner, and then very slow into 2. Easy to get on the power, especially with a Thrustmaster wheel. Gives you some great feel. So do the pedals because it's an uphill traction zone. Highest point of the circuit of 5 meters of elevation change. Coming out of 3 and 4. Easy to lose traction as the track dips downhill. Ease the throttle through 5. No need to use the brake through there. And then to the famous scene where Jenson Button passed Sebastian Vettel for victory in 2011 at Canada. What a thrilling race that was, over 4 hours. Back stretch here. Under the bridge that brings you into the circuit. And blip the throttle as you downshift. Just be really patient as you downshift and use all the curbs. Again, slippery on the exit. You can really whack the car into the wall if you're not careful. And then to Le Pongle, as it's known, the hairpin in French. This was the scene of Robert Kubica's biblical accident in 2007. If you walk into a store in Montreal, they'll greet you with bonjour. It's a French-speaking place. But if you respond in English, they just switch their language to English. It's as simple as that. And on towards the Casino straight. Casino to the right, we're going to head to the final chicane where Marcus Ambrose unfortunately butchered his victory here in 2009 on the final lap. It was his only mistake all day. And then past the wall of champions to the outside. Ironically, if you hit that, you're probably not a champion. And then across the line for a lap around the brilliant Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
love how cool that Repco Mustang looks and what a famous circuit that is. There's going to be lots of talk tonight about those slowdowns, cutting the curbs. Shortcuts are heavily penalised in iRacing, particularly at this track. All right, coin qualifying has been on track already. Let's check out who our coin pole sitter for the night is. And there's just no stopping this kid. Once again, Josh Rogers just doing what Josh Rogers does for Walkinshaw Andretti United. And Mobile One Appliances Online, look at the handling over the curves and just giving it a little bit of a kiss through the wall of champions. He picks up the Coin Pole Award once again, and that is another $500 of digital currency going his way. So well done to Josh Rogers and all the crew down there at Walkinshaw Andretti United. Unfortunately, because he was last week's Seiko 5 shootout winner, he doesn't get invited back this week, but we do have 5 drivers ready to go for tonight's Seiko 5 shootout. And of course, they're all fighting for a very cool Seiko 5 watch. What a cool way this is to start off the coverage. It's the Seiko 5 shootout, and they're going to be queuing up behind Walkinshaw Andretti United's Dane Warren and Brad Jones Racing, Jake Burton in the Dunlop car. Josh Rogers, as winner of last week, not taking part in this one. Who's going to win the watch as we get set for 2 laps around this Montreal Formula One circuit? Rolling start. Waiting on the green flag to fly, and Dane Warren to get us underway. Nice even start from the 2 off the front row. Not a bad start from Madison down, and that second Brad Jones Racing car behind him needs to try and avoid hitting his teammate, and they're pushing and shoving for the watch as Burton uses the bumpers and gets the job done. That was aggressive.
Are we race stewarding these Seiko 5 races? More incidents heading into 3. Oh, Dane Warren's been turned around, and he's going to have to serve a slowdown penalty too, so he's out of it in contention for this Seiko 5 watch.
This is good stuff. The gloves are off. Let the boys have at it. And now it's a Brad Jones Racing 1-2. Oh, it was anyway, because there goes Madison down wide. And Jared Vilsail's going to put the pressure on side by side. And they're banging doors, and Caruso's in on this one as well. This is great stuff. Some of the best action we've seen in the eSeries in this Seiko 5 shootout.
That's not an overtaking spot around the outside. It would be a mammoth move if Caruso pulled it off. But unfortunately, they have to form up. And Madison down now has received a slowdown penalty. So he won't get the touchdown. And that Seiko 5 watch.
Man, he went from Madison down to slowdown in about 3 seconds right there. So Burton with a comfortable 2-second lead. Down and Warren, they're just about out of this one, surely. But it's been a pretty entertaining first lap. Anything can still happen from here. He's still going to go side by side all the way past the casino and up to the chicane.
Well, knowing how this race is going, this could be a fight for the win. So you've got to make this position count right now.
This is going to be interesting here, Jonathan, under brakes.
Just like Marcus Ambrose and Carl Edwards back a couple of years ago. And great move by Warren to claim 4th.
All right, so that was one of the more entertaining laps we've ever had in the E-Series. It had absolutely everything. And plenty of virtual paint swap. These two are still scrapping over last in this motor race as Warren fairly overcooks that one down at the centre curve. So he's now probably going to get another slowdown for that one. And Burton has cleared out the front.
That's a 5-second slowdown penalty for Warren to cut the entire complex. So Dane Warren's the only repeat participant in our Seiko 5 shootout. Everybody else is brand new. And Jake Burton right now, he could fancy himself a new timepiece. In Melbourne right now, can tell the time zones after moving from Perth.
Yeah, 3-hour difference this time of year. And he has been very, very aggressive to get himself to the front of this one. We do have a new driving standards observer. We'll talk more about that as the night goes on. I wonder if he's going to have a look at how this one's played out, or is he just going to let them have at it for 2 laps?
Well, it's interesting because Jake Burton made that pass off the racetrack, but let him go. Play on as he locks up into the hairpin. I reckon this is a great race win for Jake Burton.
He's home and hosed as long as he doesn't cut that final chicane. Just needs to make sure he keeps at least one set of virtual Dunlop tyres on the racetrack. And on the other side of the white line, Phil Sell not going to release the pressure just yet. Jordan Caruso out of it, flashing the headlights as well. So Phil Sell trying everything he can to put off Jake Burton. But it's the West Aussie who has nailed it through the wall of champions. He pushed, he shoved, he eye gouged and he scratched, but he got himself the Seiko 5 watch. Nicely done to Brad Jones Racing. Nicely done, Jake Burton. Okay, hopefully that's a precursor for what's to come. Stick with us.
Repco Supercars Pro eSeries is proudly brought to you by Repco. It starts with the parts.
Hi, it's these, thanks.
Good choice. That'd be $52.99, thanks.
Thanks.
Repco, it starts with the parts. From the outside, who would know what lies beneath? Unleash it with a machine as savage as you are.
This is how legends are made.
Lenovo Legion. Stylish outside, savage inside.
Hi, it's these, thanks.
Good choice. That'd be $52.99, thanks.
Thanks.
Repco, it starts with the parts.
The Repco Supercars Pro eSeries is proudly brought to you by Repco. It starts with the parts. Tired of poor sound quality while you're trying to hit those apexes? Well, Shure are giving away mobile recording kits, enabling professional quality audio solutions every week of the E-Series. Simply head to the Supercars Facebook page tomorrow, post a photo of your sim setup. The image with the most likes wins.
So cool to have your company for night number 2 of 6 for the Repco Supercars Pro eSeries. Wherever you're watching, from Fox Sports to KO, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, so many ways to stay in touch with what's going to be happening tonight. Jonathan, we've got 2 tracks to go to tonight, both Formula 1 circuits. Let's dive into the Repco race facts for race 4 of the E-Series. It's a sprint one. It's worth 75 points.
Certainly is. So is the reverse grid event. So all these laps and distances are exactly the same between both races. Look out for the pit transit time. That's about 25.5 seconds with a stop for 4 tyres. Remember, under the rules, each driver needs to complete 1 CPS for each race. That's actually identified in the rules as taking 4 tyres. No time gained from taking less than 4 tyres. It's 1 gun per wheel. No social distancing rules, Chad, as we had in the earlier Supercars rules.
Good point.
Back in early 2020.
About that, yeah. So CPS, compulsory pit stop. So there's going to be a little bit of that to watch out for in this one. Let's check out how they're going to be lining up on our Seiko 5 race grid. And it's an all Walkinshaw and Andretti United front row once again. They just look so strong so far this year. And it's the top 2 in the championship. Josh Rogers, second in points, alongside Dane Warren, the champ leader. Jake Burton working with Nick Percat's engineer as his spotter. And Madison Down with the change of spotter tonight. And all Brad Jones Racing second row. Jordan Caruso looking good in this championship so far. Jared Philstill, damage in every race last week. All the BJR cars inside the top 7. There's Fours and El Nabi. Change of livery for the Monster Energy Richard Hampstead car. Emily Jones inside the top 10. That's good to see. Youngest in the field out of 11th. Cooper Webster is keeping that Seiko 5 livery for tonight. Ethan Grigg-Gult, very experienced in sim racing, alongside Josh Anderson for Team Sydney. Harley Haber has been working in the car yard 9 to 5 and then on the sim every single night, all the way up until about midnight. Andrew Gilliam on the front row last week, couldn't continue that. He's alongside the Shell V-Power car. Ben Smith goes to the Ned Racing colours for tonight alongside Jake Blackhall. Josh Muggleton's got rid of the pink wheels for tonight. Watch out for that beautiful Shaw Mustang. And James Golding wraps up the field very cool to see James Golding and the Team 18 crew back here tonight. New driving standards observer. We talked about it quickly in the Seiko 5 shootout, Justin Rugia. And he's a man with a lot of sim experience. And in the background, you can see the trophies, real world experience.
Yeah, they're not participation trophies like mine. They're genuine trophies, but he's got a lot of work cut out for him as the drivers line up for today's first of 2 races at Montreal.
All right, lights are on. Justin Rugia, the new sheriff in town, going to be keeping an eye on everybody. What a cool circuit this is. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, race number 4, night 2 of the eSeries. And we're set to go racing in Canada. And that's a beautiful start from Josh Rogers off the front row. But Dane Warren grabs second gear and just about gets some overlap. Madison down with a lock-up in the background, and so does the Middy's car. Leaves him vulnerable for a second to Jake Burton, who's just coming off the back of that Seiko 5 shootout win. And he wants to try and split up the Walkinshaw cars straight away as they roar down towards turn 3. Can he get this done around the outside? He slips and slides, and he'll probably get a slowdown if he doesn't get that car back on track in time. And this could cause a huge, huge moment for him in this race, because look at the time he's losing on the front two already.
I think he's gotten away without a slowdown penalty because he needs to clear it as soon as possible through the back stretch here. Yeah, I think he's got away with it because right now is the best way to clear it. So that was on the limit there. And on the bubble, they have 17 incident points to accrue and use throughout the race. And here's Jordan Caruso, just like the Seiko 5 shootout, trying to make the outside work.
Plenty of pushing and shoving early on. Looks like just about everyone's got away through the start of this one, although, as I say that, behind the truck assist car, there's a fair old gap. So I wonder if there was a problem there behind Andrew Gilliam as they all dive down at the hairpin.
Both your BP cars, look at the contact, by the way, between Caruso and Jackson Susan Harlow as they run through the casino straight.
There goes one of the BP cars, yep.
Yeah, so that might actually be the ordinary line through the hairpin. But yeah, both your BP cars with torrid starts, but Jordan Caruso here can't succumb to another position loss to the Cub Cadet Mowers machine of Susan Harlow.
Through the chicane to end the first lap. And that was Job Stewart in the Penrite Racing car missing the chicane, and that's going to be an almighty slowdown.
And the way it's timed, Chad, as well, as we see, with now
early pit stops showing up on our timing screen as well here, Jonathan.
Yeah, for lap 1, not expected unless it's a reverse grid event. They're going to have a long way to go on their tyres. But when they cut the final chicane, they're going to floor it because the timing beam's not going to matter. You don't receive a certain slowdown depending on how fast you go through there. It's the same amount. So for Job Stewart, he's floored through it, then served his slowdown. Here are your first BP Ultimate pit stops for round 2.
And I wonder if some of this was repairing damage from opening lap skirmishes. I think I could see one car missing a bonnet and some still trickling into the lane in the background. So the good news is they may have a good starting position for the reverse grid race. But the bad news is they're not going to be collecting too much of those 75 points.
Exactly. So those drivers include Josh Anderson, Andrew Gilliam, Brady Myers, Sam Blacklock's actually just entered his box now. So he's had an awful first lap in the Shell V-Power Racing Mustang. And Josh Muggleton and James Golding, looks like they've actually pulled it. They're out of the event as far as we can see. They may rejoin for some last-minute points. Here we ride on board with our leader, Josh Rogers. Is anybody going to stop this guy this season?
Well, the only thing that got in his way last week was not using the pit limiter. Wow, Job Stewart's looking pretty beaten up down at the hairpin. And the back of that car almost missing completely. Jake Blackwell's got some damage on his car. We check out Ben Smith. Made the change from Castrol Racing to Ned Whiskey. Oh, that's awkward. That's a really tough spot to pull over for the BP Ultimate car. And was that trying to serve a slowdown, I wonder? It was an awkward spot to do it for Fortin El Nabi.
And what you saw there on screen, Chad, was Job Stewart entering the pit lane. The brake marker for the final chicane is the number 4 on each side of the racetrack. But the pit lane entry is the brake marker identified as 2. So Stewart's done a little Robert Kubica there and just gone straight around both of them.
Wow, hectic start for everyone except the front 2. Although there was that slight moment where Jake Burton had a crack at trying to break the lead pair up. Couldn't quite do it. There's damage to the back of Ethan Greg Gould's car as well. So it's the walking wounded at the moment. And the Shannon's insurance driver is missing his entire rear boot lid and rear wing. And let's see if that's actually going to affect the handling. Should be leading to a ton of oversteer.
We're hearing word that EGG over here, Egg as he's known, Ethan Greg Gould, he was actually hit as Joshua Anderson was trying to come into pit lane. So that's why he's missing the rear wing of that Shannon's car. So that's definitely a penalty coming. Justin Rugia's got his work cut out for him.
Well, if you're new to iRacing and you're new to the eSeries, you're going to love this. This is the sure sounds of the game. Crank it up and have a listen. How cool is that? Bouncing across the chicane to end another lap. It looks a bit like an endurance race out there with so many wounded cars getting around. And this is the Cub Cadet car of Jackson Suzlin-Harlow, who's now missing parts and going slow, and may have been serving a slowdown from the chicane. Well, I sent Josh Rogers a quick message over in Germany today to find out what he thought the big talking point of this race was going to be. He said, slowdowns, managing the slowdowns, avoiding the slowdowns, and already we're seeing numerous drivers fall afoul of that rule.
This is my favorite circuit, and I'm an open wheeler guy with my background, and slowdowns is not a talking point through here, but with these big heavy supercars, you can really ride the curbs. You're not going to break the suspension or the steering or anything else as you would in an open wheeler, and that's why it's the talk of the town. This next chicane under the bridge that takes you into the circuit, if you touch the grass with any of your left or right side wheels, you can receive a slowdown. That was awfully close for Richard Hampstead, wasn't it? Who's driving Cam Waters.
So just to clear this up as well, for those who might be new to sim racing, what is the slowdown and how do you so-called clear it?
Yeah, so it's an automated penalty by iRacing. So if you cut the track at certain parts of the racetrack, iRacing actually send an automatic penalty. It's not from Justin Ruggier, our driving standards observer, but they have to slow down a certain amount of seconds, and they're allowed about 38 to 40 seconds to do it. And if you don't do it within that time allocated, you do receive a drive-through or stop-go penalty, depending on the severity.
All right, so the Monster Energy car goes steaming into pit lane, and Jackson Suzlin-Harlow follows through. Jake Burton, this is a good move from BJR, trying to get something of an undercut on the two Walkinshaw Andretti United drivers.
Could work for sure. At this point of the race, the tyres are around about 1 second a lap slower compared to a fresh set. So Jake Burton on the outlap, this track is very abrasive, as we talked about in our Repco race packs. He's going to have, he looks very calm, doesn't he, right there in his pit stop? That's good to see. But his tyre is going to be on the get-go straight away coming out of the pits. That looked like a quick stop for Burton.
Oh, that's tight between Hampstead in the background, just beating Cooper Webster out. What's the rejoin going to be like as Rogers now has a 2-second lead over his teammate?
I say it's a quick stop for Burton, but it's 10.4 seconds on our screen.
Now, will the Middies car answer the call? Josh Rogers sets the Seiko fastest lap last time by. Now, to avoid the undercut from Jake Burton, who's the first driver on the road to have served a pit stop so far, will the Walkinshaw Andretti United cars pit this lap?
Depends on the gap, or what the gap was when Burton came in. Let's see them react here. So if they floor it past brake marker 4, they're definitely coming into the lane. This is Jared Filsell on the attack on Madison Down. These are some of your best Supercars drivers fighting for victory and podiums, and there they are in the pits.
So Rogers, Warren both come in, and they bring Madison down with him. So a chance here potentially for Jared Filsell to go for the overcut, which is going to be a very difficult strategy call tonight given the high degradation. Now here is the Dunlop entry. Jake Burton first to have served the pit stop, so there could be a good little rejoin fight here.
See the numbers there, where those advertising boards are. That's what I've been talking about all evening. Nails the final chicane. Look how close he gets to the wall. He's definitely pushing, Chad.
Knows he needs to push right now. He's got Andrew Edwards, who's Nick Percat's engineer, in his ear right now, pushing him to try and make this undercut work. Here comes the rejoin between the Walkinshaw Andretti United cars, and they have got him covered. Oh, and he loses a spot also to Madison Down. So actually fell back a spot behind his teammate.
Madison Down's pit stop was 1.3 seconds quicker, and as we spoke about last week, that's a randomly generated number, so it's all based on luck, and he's copped the short straw as Jake Burton. And have a look at how close your Walkinshaw cars are. This race is on. Warren's got to make a move this lap by before he lets Rogers run away.
Yeah, that gap was out to 2 seconds before the pit stop. You don't need a stopwatch to know it's less than that right now. Jared Filsell, the leader, yet to pit. Emily Jones, the only driver out on the track right now, still operating behind Filsell, yet to serve their pit stop. Oh, was that a slowdown? Yes, it was. A slowdown for the Middies car.
Oh, as he whacked the wall too.
And drops back behind the two Walkinshaw Andretti United drivers, so pushing hard to try and get it onto the back of his teammate and make a move stick. Oversteps the mark and now has some work to do and potentially damage to the right side of that car as in comes Jared Filsell. Now, he was pretty close to the back of Madison Down before this pit stop sequence started. So this could be pretty close.
He would have lost 1 second on his in-lap due to tyres, maybe 0.8 if you don't include the final chicane. So he's going to need a good pit stop. And knowing Jared Filsell's luck, I don't think he's ever had a good pit stop given to him from iRacing. 9.5, he'll live with that. Coming through the pit entrance. Remember, it skips turn 1 and 2. And where's he going to appear?
Should be pretty close to the Brad Jones cars, and at the back of the Minis car he is. Now he'll have 1 lap better tyres than 2 of these cars and 2 laps better tyres than Jake Burton.
That was a very poor mistake by Warren, because he's just lost 9 championship points from 2nd to 4th. As Filsell tries to Van Gisbergen it coming out of the corner. And then we ride on board with Jared, who's just joined Red Bull HRT this year, making the switch from Walkinshaw, and he's attacking a car he could have potentially driven this year had he stuck with the team.
Yeah, right up behind the pretty much his ride from last year. Picked up damage on the first lap of all 3 races last week. That's going to make your night very, very difficult from that point onwards. Now a chance to get into a little bit of a rhythm with just 4 to go next time by.
And you brought that up, Chad, as Warren here has a peek at Jake Burton.
Oh, turns him. And that might just be payback for the Seiko 5 shootout. So those two were into each other earlier. Filsell's picked up a knock as well. So saw half a chance and went for it. And that was a big one down at the hairpin. And that is definitely our Lenovo Savage moment of the race.
So is he at the B pillar, which is the point between the front and rear door? I don't think he's there at corner apex. It's very late, and it's a very late lunge, and I think he'll cop a penalty for that.
Well, that's going to be in the hands of Justin Rougier, and that's a big call for Justin, our brand new DSO for the night. It was aggressive, and Burton has fallen back to 5th, and will be pretty close to Richard Hampstead and also Cooper Webster putting on the pressure from behind.
I think Jake's sticking with that haircut, because he did tell me a couple of weeks ago when the hairdressers weren't open in Victoria, he said, oh, I've got to get a haircut. It's been a few months, but he hasn't.
Good luck charm, maybe.
Come on, Jake. He's been too busy testing, I would say, for this series.
Well, he's won the watch, but at the moment, he's going to cost himself some points down at the hairpin. How's this little feisty battle pack?
What in the world is that?
He's got 1 car missing a bonnet, 1 car missing a boot.
Wow, I've never seen that before.
Caruso versus Greg Gault. And this is the fight for 8th. This thing's handling pretty good considering it's missing the rear boot and rear wing. It's hanging in there.
Very slippery on the exit here. It's as if someone chucks a bucket of water on the circuit without you knowing. The rear end wants to go that way when your head goes that way. Here they go into the hairpin. Little switchback, Daniel Ricciardo style. That is a sweet move without some rear downforce.
And a track that was very kind to Australia's Daniel Ricciardo back at Red Bull. And that was pretty cool. So makes the move stick and has taken 8th away from Jordan Caruso. So the big controversial moment of the race concerned this car. A good chance to check in with our brand new DSO, Justin Rougier. What's the read on what we saw down at the hairpin?
Everyone's keeping me busy tonight, man.
Yeah, welcome to the job, mate.
It's full on, isn't it? But look, car 2, by the looks of it, sort of outbraked himself and made contact with 8. So we're still in review, but it ain't looking good for car 2.
The official rule is it ain't looking good. I like that. What's the rules in the Seiko 5 shootout, I wonder, as well? Are they going to let them have at it? That's the that was certainly the vibe earlier in the race when they're all punching each other's lights out for 2 laps. So it doesn't look good for car 2 is the official call at the moment. So that may be either a time penalty or points penalty. The problem with giving a time penalty is it can give them a better grid position for the reverse grid race. That also needs to be factored into this.
But the way this point system is designed is your top 7 positions, I think, claim the highest percentage of points. So it's not an even spread from 1st to 22nd. So if you're falling outside the top 7, it's not good. If you're falling from 4th to 7th or something like that, you can get away with it.
So Richard Hampstead now under fire from the Seiko 5 Guile Street Fighter 5 car. Saw that last week. Cooper Webster at the wheel.
This used to be the old pit straight at Montreal before they moved it in 1988 to where it is now. This used to be a corner too. I know so much. It's awesome.
Because you've been there.
Yeah, I have. It was a great visit. I didn't come here on a race weekend, but French Canada is a very beautiful place. You drive 6 hours from Toronto, which is completely English and Western civilization. And then you drive 6 hours to Montreal and you're like, am I in Europe? Did I drive over the ocean? What's going on?
Yeah, onto Quebec, which is really cool. A city that loves its live music, has hosted Formula One since the 70s. Gilles Villeneuve won the very first race here back in 1978, which is cool. And that's going to be a slowdown for Jordan Caruso. How punishing that is as he sits there and watches the field drive by. And with that tight battle pack, he's going to lose quite a few spots.
Critical championship contenders who have not had a good race include Forza Alnabi, who's still lapping away. So he's actually serviced that BP Ultimate Mustang, and he's out of the pit lane. And same so for Jordan Caruso, who scored his first career podium in his first career round at Silverstone last week. Would have had the podium anyway, regardless.
Yeah. But that was penalty. That was actually Brady Myers who was serving. Well, not doing a slowdown. I think he's just trying to let the traffic go by. So thankfully for Jordan Caruso, he's still at the back of that shot right there with the missing bonnet. Here is Josh Rogers in a league of his own at the moment. He's also accrued the most incident points so far, which is amazing because the thing looks completely clean. That's more a sign that he has been really pushing. So taking tiny little shortcuts where he can, but doing so in a way that gets incident points, but not slowdowns, and maybe just grazing a few walls as well.
I'm surprised with where you'd pick those up. So I'm thinking maybe definitely turn one, because here you can't really pick up incident points without getting a slowdown as it's a street circuit. So there he's picked up 9. So he's got one through the final chicane. And
here is Madison Down, the only driver in the field using virtual reality goggles. He managed to sneak a little R&J battery sticker onto the VR kit last week. Not there this week because it was affecting the tracking of the virtual reality on the screen. So he was having some issues with it last week. Couldn't figure out what it was. Turns out it was the sponsor sticker on the front of the VR goggles.
Well, every driver I've spoken to has got an excuse sorted for round one.
Yep.
Jared Filsell actually had
a long pedal, had a long brake pedal.
And that's a big deal because you don't really have much feel in sim racing apart from the actual spring that you install onto the pedal. But anyway, he's going to claim a podium here. It'll be his first of the season, something he's all too accustomed to. But they've got to stop Josh Rogers. That's the question. And the reverse grid race is where it starts.
Most of the drivers use pretty high-tech load cell pedals, which are pedals which you can change the springs and alter and fiddle with to get them to your liking and to try and get more brake pedal feel. Of course, they're pouring that pressure on right now at the hairpin. But they're all chasing this guy again this week. 4.5 seconds up the road. He's on a Canadian road trip today. Successful in the opening round and putting the pressure on the field once again. Right of screen, Jared Filsell keeping the pressure on Madison Down all the way to the checkered flag, but it's going to be Josh Rogers and Walkinshaw Andretti United straight back to the top. Winners in Canada at the circuit, Gilles Villeneuve. Well done to Josh Rogers. Live from Germany, barely even cracking a smile. He knows that it's all in the bag today so far. There goes Madison Down. Brad Jones Racing second today. And Red Bull HRT get their first podium of the season. And they're on the board. And that was a nice drive from Jared Filsell under pretty heavy pressure. Picked up a few spots with the scrap that unfolded down at the hairpin. Josh Rogers just doing it so cleanly. Led comfortably. Only dropped the lead of the race to Jared Filsell during the pit stop procedure. We did have quite a few drivers sit the majority of that race in pit lane. Let's see, Job Stewart, Sam Blacklock, James Golding. None of those drivers really emerged from their pit stop, so they are playing a bit of hooky there. We're trying to get onto the front row of the grid for the reverse grid race of the night. Exciting stuff from Josh Rogers, though. Did it comfortably. Let's check out exactly how it unfolded on the Repco highlights.
This was a real race. Job Stewart would have struggled getting that Penrite racing car ready for the reverse gridder. It was an awesome start between these two, Dane Warren and Josh Rogers. I thought Warren was going to pull off a move around the outside. Rogers just kept it clean. And it was actually a much cleaner start than I thought through turn 1 and 2. But these two are going to squabble all season. Here's Job Stewart, we're just talking about. Surprised he had the car in check for the rest of the race. There he is flooring it through the slowdown. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, that was it was the story of the race, and also some lap traffic needing to get cleared. And that was the Cup Cadet car of Jackson Suzlin Harlow, who was comfortably inside the top 10 at that moment and picked up some damage to fall outside the top 10. Controversial moment of the race, and still awaiting the final word But as Justin Ruggie said, it doesn't look good for car 2 into the door of Jake Burton down at the hairpin. And this was the demo derby battle, this one between Ethan Grigult and Jordan Caruso. Ethan driving beautifully in the Shannon's insurance car. 5 seconds up the road. Mobile One Appliances Online Racing. Walkinshaw Andretti United star just clipping the apexes, the curbs and the wall on his way through to pick up another strong race win. Congratulations to Josh Rogers and the entire crew at Walkinshaw Andretti United. And just looking so comfortable at the moment in his sim, the Coanda Sim Sport star. 4.7 seconds up the road. Picks up his now officially second win of the year in the Repco results. Madison Down, another podium for him. Strong in the opening week and continuing that form here this weekend. And Jared Filsell making that switch over to Red Bull HRT and getting their first podium of the day. Emily Jones started 10th, dropped back to 13th. And a few drivers falling down a lap with some damage, and a lot of drivers not making it back to the checkered flag. James Golding will be starting, I imagine, off the pole for our second race of the night, which will be the reverse grid race. We know who's going to be starting last in the reverse grid race because he's just picked up another race win. Congratulations to Josh Rogers. He's our Sure live chat of the night. Beautifully done. Talk us through that little battle at the start of the race between you and your teammate. He was looking to put some pressure on there, mate.
Yeah, hey guys. I mean, you were cutting out a little bit there, so I'll try and do what I can. But yeah, no, it was an awesome race. The start was a little bit tricky. I just stuffed up the second phase a little bit, so Dane had a jump, and yeah, had to try and hold on to it as much as I could. From there, the rear tires were a little bit hot because I had that wheel spin, but tried to manage it as well as I could, and you know, got off the pit stops clean. Used the pit limiter this time. Didn't make that mistake again, and from there on, eyes forward and tried to finish it off. But you know, the reverse grid race is going to be tricky. Obviously, starting from the back, Montreal isn't necessarily the easiest place to pass. So I mean, we'll try and pick off a few cars, but we'll see how the 25 Mobile One Appliances Online Racing Commodore goes.
Josh, it was unlike you. You picked up 10 incident points during this race. Where were you accruing these around a street circuit? Was it the final chicane, turn 1?
Might have been a little bit of netcode there. Because I mean, in the end, I ended up having 0. I had a couple 0x's, so I did touch the wall a couple of times. But around a circuit like this, that's you know, you're not pushing hard enough if you're not touching fences. So.
I'm just going to ask what everyone's thinking right now. What is with the purple floor? It's killing me.
Well, I mean, Coanda, right? Our main brand is purple and orange, and you know, we need a little bit of contrast in here. So, I mean, the purple floor. I mean, we could switch up the lights, you know, make it pink, orange, purple, whatever we want. But the floor needed that contrast.
I love it. I love it. Love a bit of colour. Hey, congratulations on another race win, mate. You're looking good. Best of luck in the reverse grid race.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
All right, we're going to queue them up for that reverse grid race. You don't want to miss it. It's always exciting. There's going to be some carnage, and how far can Josh Rogers drive up through the field? That's coming up very, very shortly. Don't go anywhere. This is the eSeries. The Repco Supercars Pro eSeries is proudly brought to you by Lenovo Legion. Game with speed.
Hi, Steve's, thanks.
Good choice. That'd be $52.99, thanks.
Thanks.
Repco, it starts with the parts. From the outside, who would know what lies beneath? Unleash it with a machine as savage as you are.
This is how legends are made.
Lenovo Legion. Stylish outside, savage inside.
Hi. It's these, thanks.
Good choice. That'd be $52.99, thanks.
Thanks.
Repco, it starts with the parts.
The Repco Supercars Pro eSeries is proudly brought to you by Lenovo Legion. Game with speed.
Hi there, my name's Madison Down and I'm from Sydney, New South Wales, and I'll be driving car number 14 for Brad Jones Racing in this year's Supercars Pro eSeries.
Madison down. This will be an almighty move around the outside if he makes it stick.
So behind me we have the sim rig that I'll be using for the 2020 Repco Pro Supercar eSeries, and it is a next level racing GT track. I've had the rig for around about a year now, and it's provided me quite a sturdy base. I really like the sturdiness of the rig. Having a look here at the wheel base itself, and this is a VRS Direct Force Pro, which is a Miege servo motor. So these are normally found in a workshop making things, but in this instance it is a sim racing wheelbase. So these things are very precise, they can output a lot of power, they're overkill for the job, but that's the reason you want them. So they got that precision and force to really give you exactly what you would be feeling in a real supercar.
Checkered flag is going to fly here for Madison Down. Reverse grid race winner for R&J Batteries and Brad Jones Racing. 75 points. Nicely done for the man from Camden South.
This is my Oculus Rift headset here, and this one is a bit different to a few other drivers because a lot of other drivers actually use triple screens. But for me, I've got a bit of a space issue in this room, so virtual reality works a little bit better. And I also prefer the immersion that I get as well. So that's something that is a bit unique to my sim rig, I guess. So all of these things all matter. They're all 1%ers, but it's all about being comfortable in your rig. And for me, this is, I guess, my workspace. It's what I prefer. All of this stuff has all been upgrades over a decade, and we're at the point now where I'm pretty happy with what I've got here. So hopefully it provides some success in this year's Repco Pro Supercar eSeries.
Some pretty cool equipment there for Madison Down. He's been on iRacing for over 10 years, been in our series now for the last 2 seasons and made that move over to Brad Jones Racing and has already won some virtual trophies to begin the year off. Well, we're not too far away from going into our reverse grid race here for night number 2 of the Repco Pro eSeries. Great to have your company. Let's check out how they're going to be lining up for what's going to be a very exciting reverse grid race on our Seiko 5 grid. And this is going to be a really cool looking grid tonight because we've got James Golding ready to go on the front row alongside Sam Blacklock. So Team 18 and Shell V Power Racing. Then it's Erebus and Job Stewart. Forzen El Nabi, a disappointing race that last time out. He's going to be almost race favourite here. Very, very quick. Josh Muggleton and Brady Myers both spent a lot of time in the pits in that last race. Harley Haber for Matt Stone Racing and Jake Blackall. That's actually a pure sim team. Benjamin Smith for Kelly Racing and Emily Jones, again starting out of the outsider row number 5. Josh Anderson, the Aussie Racing Cars points leader at the moment, and Jackson Suzel and Harlow. There goes the truck assist car. That's not Lee Holdsworth tonight. It's Andrew Gilliam alongside Jordan Caruso. Ethan Grigg Galt, we saw him without the boot lid in that last one. He's got some work to do alongside Cooper Webster. Richard Hampstead in the monster colours tonight. Jake Burton still waiting on an official word as to what happened between he and Dane Warren in that last one. Jared Philsell down the back. And watch how far these two can get Madison Down. And he's going to be fighting with Josh Rogers. They've got a lot of work to do off the back. Rogers got so far up the field last week. Is he going to play it safe, or I wonder how far up the field he'll get. Now we've got James Golding on the line and ready to go on the pole tonight as well. Hey, this is pretty cool stuff. You're in Bathurst a couple of weeks ago racing for real, and now you're taking on some of the hottest eSeries kids. How are you finding the eSeries so far, James?
Yeah, a bit more difficult than Bathurst, to be honest. But yeah, something different for me. So I'm just having a bit of fun. Didn't manage to get through the carnage before, which is a bit of a Shame, but I had plenty of Sid Chrome tools to throw in the car and fix it up ready for this one.
You had to get out and do the virtual work yourself. You've actually got some real go-fast parts on your sim as well. We've been talking about how cool everyone's sim setups are. You've got some real Supercars parts bolted onto yours.
Yeah, I've got an old gear stick here from JRM that I've built up and got on my sim, so it's good to replicate some of that stuff to the real thing.
So you're on the pole for this one, 11 laps, but there are some pretty quick guys. I think Falls and El Nabi in particular off row 2. Can you win this thing?
I don't know. I'll have to do some pretty good blocking, I reckon, but we'll see how we go.
All right, best of luck. We're not too far away from getting you and the other 21 drivers out on track. And how cool is that? From the purple floors in Germany to the Warren Luff lookalike, top left. That's actually Harley Haber for Matt Stone Racing. We've got the virtual reality headset for Madison down. Hopefully this goes better than the reverse grid race for the All-Stars at Montreal. Dare I say it, when Joey Logano started on the pole and we had a 22-car pile-up. Let's go racing reverse grid style. Good opportunity this for Sam Blacklock and the Shell V-Power Racing team to get one on the board. Great opportunity for Job Stewart in the Penrite car. There is Sam Blacklock ready to go. Got the job by sending an email to the team to say, hey, do you want to go eSeries racing with me? And they gave him the gig. Revs come up. And away we go in Montreal for the reverse grid race. Can James Golding hold the Lions at bay in the Sid Chrome car down towards turn 1? Stewart, nice start, clears the Shell V-Power car early, and El Nabi gets turned. And it stacks on just like it was in the All-Stars. Multiple cars involved. A few get away with it, but not many did. There's the survivors, I guess we can call them. And it's a good start for James Golding. That's almost exactly what he needed.
I don't think that will cause a Repco safety car intervention, so we're going to continue on here in lap 1 as Golding leads from Blacklock, but awful start for El Nabi, who was turned around. He's actually pulled it into the pits, a virtual tow, and the racing continues. Look at the squabbling down the back of the pack. Josh Rogers now has made his way up to 13th. Incredible. Jared Filsell into your top 10.
So the boys off the back have somehow missed all of that carnage. And here they are in the mid-pack of this battle, and the best of them so far. Red Bull HRT, Jared Filsell.
Up 11 positions from the start. So he's either gotten lucky and also positioned his car where he needed to. He's having a look here at Emily Jones now for a 12th position on the opening lap, and he's got the position on her.
Spooked her out of that one. Just put the pressure on. She bowled a wide down at the hairpin, and that was enough. This is awesome stuff. And she's bump drafting Filsell now. She knows. Oh, actually, she might be going for the overtake now as the two ahead squabble. Gilliam and Suzlin Harlow. We hear a few cars banging doors in the background as we go on board and bounce over the curbs. Riding on board with Emily Jones. And that was a bit ugly going through the chicane. And Josh Rogers enters the pit lane. So strategy, the pit windows for this race. Laps 1 to 7, we're expecting. Oh, that was Job Stewart serving a slowdown and almost in the way there. Just like he did last race. He is really struggling at that final chicane, but it's always better than hitting the wall of champions. He's working with Wayne Mackey, who's Will Brown's engineer from Super 2. So cool to see this crossover. And look how many drivers have come into the pits on lap 1. Unfortunately for the BP Ultimate Mustang, that was not a scheduled pit stop. So that was a very busy start of the race, and it's Al Lenovo's savage moment. Here we go. Let's see who shot the butler and started this one. It was Josh Muggleton hard into the back of the 98. Was he getting pushed, well, to get into Forsen? We don't know. Someone shot the sheriff, but then Jake Blackhole shot the deputy. Well done. That is Al Lenovo. Savage moment, and it was all happening down at the centre chicane. Battle action on right now. It's going to be the long way this time. Hampstead to the inside, actually Gilliam I should say to the inside of Filsell. And Filsell with a beautiful switchback. That was absolutely copybook. Perfect move. So the worst start to a win was P8 by Jake Burton last year. The worst start to a podium was P12 by Josh Rogers. Fight for the lead here as well at the moment. Sorry, Jonathan, because here comes Sam Blacklock and takes that spot away from James Golding. So brilliant move by Blacklock up the inside, very simple, nailed his braking point. But I spoke about that record there. We could see Jared Filsell break that with a podium here. He's yet to pit, so Chad, I can guarantee you he would have wanted to pit on the first lap. He's made up so many positions, he's adjusted the strategy. Yeah, and Golding just picked up a slowdown, and Filsell turns. Jackson Suzlin Harlow, Emily Jones piles in, Caruso involved. And watch for Dane Warren. You can smell blood in the water here, and he tries to pick up a few spots as he can, but the road was blocked and he had to get out of it. He told me he was going to treat this reverse grid race cautiously. Well, can't be too cautious at the moment. Look at this. This is awesome. 2x2x2. This is more like the NASCAR Xfinity racing that we used to see here 10 years ago. So Philsa was putting together the perfect drive until that point. Front to rear contact, typically not smiled upon. And I wonder how that's going to play out in the hands of Justin Ruggier. And this is still going on 3 wide. That is awesome. Caruso pulls out of it. Amstead runs it wide and nearly picks up, I think that was El Nabi, who's come back out of the pits. Oh, Golding's missing the boot lid and the rear wing that goes with it.
But Phil Sell into your podium positions, up 17 spots in 3 laps. I was about to say, it's just like a video game. Oh, wait, it is. It is.
He's got it set on easy at the moment. Bit of side-by-side action here with Caruso, and they've got the draft and the run on Suzel and Harlow, and they go 3 wide. That is awesome. Down Casino Straight. Who's going to roll the dice and gamble? Under brakes at the chicane. They both come in and they make contact at pit entrance. And this could result in the 99 going too fast down pit entrance, potentially. Now, did Emily get that car stopped in time? We'll know if she serves a long pit stop here. She'll get a penalty for speeding in pit lane.
Exactly. You can serve your pit entry penalty in the same stop, but if she speeds on exit, she'll have to come in a second time. But that was, I was having a bit of a giggle behind the scenes because I said, someone's going to have to pit here to save time, and then they both decided to do it. And I said, that's the worst way to do it. One of you have got to decide to do the other. Emily's having a bit of a laugh about it. Caruso's a bit more focused in Harry Potter mood.
Yep. Cue the Harry Potter music. Well, Emily's actually running for the first time a spotter tonight, so didn't run one last week. So working with Andrew Fraser tonight to try and pick up a few more spots on track. Kelly Racing and Repco Racing now. A pair of Mustangs. It's the train driver from Melbourne in the Ned car. Made that switch across from Castrol Racing. Benny Smith working the wheel at the moment. Here he is. All aboard.
Very interesting. Jared Philsells appeared behind Josh Anderson and Andrew Gilliam, who've made their 1 compulsory pit stop for this race. Considering Sam Blacklock is still yet to enter the lane, Philsell could be off the podium, but he's got some fresh rubber on this bunch. There's Dane Warren here. Screams across the Casino Straight. Is he going to enter the lane for his compulsory pit stop? Good opportunity now that he's alongside Job Stewart. And again, they both decide to opt for the same strategy. And Warren has lost around a second there, trying to allow Stewart through.
All right, so it's absolutely on at the moment. For those who have already pitted, a chance to make up some pretty big points in this reverse grid race. Josh Rogers just sidling through this field with that early pit stop. And what will the tyre life be like later? On board with Harley Haver, I believe this is, as we go down and tick off another lap. So he has been really busy throughout the week, working as a new car salesman at Mazda. And then on the sim at night, as Job Stewart has got the rears dancing. And that's an absolute gift. Hand-wrapped and with a little bow and a welcome card for Dane Warren.
Big setups for this series, just to remind everybody, you can only adjust the brake bias, and that's a whole lot of rear bias there for Job Stewart.
Yeah, a lot of drivers saying that this setup, which is across the board, is a really well-balanced car to drive, quite user-friendly, where some of the other series that run a set setup find it a little bit too stiff and can be a bit skatey.
And the worst part about it is you can't actually use the onboard anti-roll bar adjustment. And with so many medium speed corners at Montreal, it's probably the biggest adjustment you can use for lap time.
This is a cool battle pack forming up behind Josh Muggleton, the Sydney sider, for 6th in the field. So why not grab the remote? Here's some sure sounds of the game. that is what it's like down in the trenches for a very feisty lap of this very cool Montreal circuit as Rogers sets another Seiko 5 fastest lap. Impressive considering he pitted 5 laps ago.
Yeah, the tyres are going to struggle to get to the finish. Very abrasive track surface. This was the same circuit that inspired Formula One's Pirelli era of rubber. The 2010 race here was unintentionally a 2-stop race, and it was very entertaining. And then when Pirelli signed up to be the sole tyre supplier, that's what Bernie Ecclestone wanted, was high degradation races. Sam Blacklock hasn't made his pit stop, neither has Richard Hampstead, as the squabbling continues behind. And this is why, Chad, the talk ahead of round 1 was the undercut. All I'm hearing from every driver is undercut, undercut, undercut. And then Madison Down went and overcutted the reverse grid race and ended up taking the victory. So we could see Sam Blacklock as a new race winner potentially.
Down towards the chicane for the 7th time of this 11th lap reverse grid journey. Sam Blacklock running real long with Richard Hampstead. The advantage of this long strategy at the moment is all these drivers who are fighting right now, he doesn't have any of that. He hasn't got any worries with all that clean air that he's got at the front of the field. So there is some time to be made up there. Truck assist entry of Andrew Gilliam under pressure right now from one of the best in the world, and Josh Rogers working the back of that truck assist Mustang.
For Blacklock, it's a 25.5-second transit time through pit lane. Ideally, if it's perfect, give him a 2-second buffer, and he's just got about a second on Josh Muggleton, who's the leading driver yet to make his pit stop, as we ride on board with Coanda Sim Sports and Walkinshaw Andretti United's Josh Rogers. Bit of oversteer on the exit.
Let's watch the technique here. What makes this guy the best? Listen to the throttle application. Watch how smooth he is. Watch the lines. Watch the curb usage.
Oh, that's a slowdown penalty for the truck assist car as we watch some squabbling between Job Stewart here and James Golding. And they start near the front.
They did. Hasn't worked out for Golding in this one. Like, I love that. It's harder than Bathurst. That's how hard the eSeries is and how good these young drivers are. Turning 1:34.9, Seiko 5 fastest lap of the race is finally Rogers gets that move done on the truck assist car. It's hard to compare apples to apples here. We're doing 33s in the All-Stars, but much cooler track conditions.
Now, Rogers spoke, when we spoke to him in our Shore Live chat, he talked to me about netcode and why he's getting all these fake off tracks, because he said he had 0.
Pit, sorry, yep.
And here's our leader pitting, so this is important. But just to quickly wrap up on that, so Rogers' connection from Germany, it's hard to identify where he's cutting the track. Blacklock's out of the lane.
Where is he going to rejoin here? He had a good 7 or 8 laps of clean racetrack. Was he able to make the most out of it?
Oh, not even close.
Well done. So at the moment, this has worked out beautifully. Clean racetrack at the front of the field. He's been turning low 1-minute 36s. To give you a bit of a reference, Rogers is in the 34s. And he's going to have substantially better tyres than everyone chasing him down at the moment.
And it's a great story too, because his favourite driver is Scott McLaughlin, and he gets to drive that car home to victory. Technically, he's the owner of that car, because Scott McLaughlin's vacated that seat.
Yeah. Should we start spreading some rumours for next year in the Repco Supercars? Sam Blacklock, a shoe-in for the 17.
Yeah, didn't Ryan Story say, hey, let's get him in the main game car after round 3?
So I love that. He sent an email to the team to say, I'd love to drive for your eSeries, and they gave him the gig. And here he is potentially about to bring up the race winners. This fight continues. This is the fight for the podium spots. Muggleston and the Shaw Mustang 2nd. Anderson, Team Sydney 3rd on the podium last week. And then Jared Filsell pouring the pressure on for a spot on the podium. Started near the back. Does have that slight question mark over him for contact earlier in the race. There is Josh Anderson looking very cool at the moment. Plenty of real-world racing experience for Anderson, driving for Team Sydney. Lives out in Penrith in Western Sydney.
I love looking at the faces, because it's not something you usually see, neither in motorsport or if you're racing against someone virtually. He's picked up a mammoth amount of oversteer on the apex of 1, but you're able to pick it up at 2 and get away with that. But he's got 2 of the toughest drivers to defend against for this podium. And remember, this would be the greatest podium from the lowest starting position if either Filsell and Rogers can pull it off.
Back on board with Filsell. Keeping that pressure on. wonder if finally the tyre life has caught up with Josh Rogers. Last time by 1:36.6, so actually 35.6. He's the quickest in that lead pack at the moment, despite the fact that his tyre life is substantially older.
Well, Phil Sell's got to get a move on then. And here he is now into turn 10. You're not actually allowed here when you visit the circuit as Phil Sell goes for the move. And he's onto the podium. Rogers can follow up the inside. If he positions his car perfectly, he could pick off both of them.
Phil Sell's car was dancing around in the mid-corner. The back end was really sideways, and here comes Rogers on the charge. How does he play this one? With the roadblock up ahead, he's going to go the bump draft and just shove Phil Sell through.
Perfect.
So Phil Sell goes to third, Rogers to fourth. Anderson relegated 2 spots down the casino straight.
Problem is for Phil Sell now he's going to defend from Rogers again. Probably would have preferred he was stuck behind Anderson for a couple of corners.
Should have slightly better tyre life at least to help him for the last couple of laps. First and second in last year's championship, back when Phil Sell was at Walkinshaw Andretti United. And this has relieved some of that pressure away for Josh Muggleton, and potentially on the podium.
And he's never scored a podium, Chad. His best finish was 4th last year, despite competing in the entire series as they head into 6 and 7. The famous scene where, if you think back to 2011, Jenson Button made the pass on the final lap for victory. But it's all supercars time here. Marcus Ambrose had some success in NASCAR back when it was known as the Nationwide Series. He actually lost a victory here in 2009 at the final chicane. Final lap, the only mistake he made all day. And it handed the victory to Carl Edwards. And Phil Sell is under trouble here at the hairpin. Very bumpy braking zone too, so tough to get the car stopped in time.
Wow, goes big time defensive. Can Rogers outsmart him around the outside? Got parked mid-corner. Heard of the block pass, that was the block defense down there at the hairpin. And holds on to it. There'll be 1 to go this time by.
If I was Muggleton, yeah, I was about to say that if I was Muggleton, I would try and break the toe here and try and let Rogers battle with Phil Sell so it protects P2 for you.
Josh Muggleton using a brand new screen tonight, so getting used to that at the moment as well. And the pressure is absolutely on for this last lap. Blacklock with a handy lead. Just needs to drive comfortably and not pick up any slowdowns on this last time around. And it'll be enough to pick up a race win. Trying to drive it straight, even though he was last to pit and should have the best tyre life out there. Pretty cool to see this young guy get the gig at Shell V-Power Racing. Muggleton hanging on for now. Fight for third is still on. Can Josh Rogers do it from last on the grid and get a podium? Played an extremely aggressive strategy, pitting on the very first lap.
Good overtaking opportunity here on the exit, but he slides it out. That's a great part of the circuit to identify whether your car's oversteery or understeery. Just the amount of pull you have, and the tires are at the limit of their grip. 2 overtaking spots left though, plenty of time. Phil Sell's got an opportunity, and look at the back of shot. It's all going on, but it's all calm right up ahead. It's deception.
So Blacklock doing it easily, and from a long way back, oh, he skittles the whole pack. Rogers into Phil Sell into Muggleton, and Muggleton gets mugged down there at the hairpin. No trophy for him today. And that was a little bit naughty, but boy, was it exciting. And at the front of the pack, it's going to be the 17. Shell V-Power Racing about to check in for their first race win in the eSeries since Scott McLaughlin at Spa in the All-Stars. Past the wall of champions to the checkered flag, and the 21-year-old who lives on the Gold Coast and is a part of their teammates' program gets the race win for Shell V-Power Racing. Wow, that had it all at the end. That was an exciting run to the checkered flag. Seriously aggressive stuff from Josh Rogers. Rogers second across the line with something of an asterisk next to his name. Josh Anderson third.
I want to get another look at that because live I felt Phil Sell was moving under braking, but I'm thinking about it now, and I got to take another look. It was awfully close. I don't think it was anything Phil Sell did that was wrong. I'm in 2 minds, Chad. I need to see it.
Wow, that was a great drive from Sam Blacklock. Loved the long play strategy on that one. Had the clean racetrack, so went for it. This is what went down at the hairpin.
You got to put that down to I feel like Phil Sell moved late under brakes to defend, but Rogers had already made his decision and Muggleton was the sitting duck. So Muggleton's done nothing wrong, but have a look from this angle and you can see Rogers has made his decision while Phil Sell's defending the same part of the tarmac. And it's a tough braking zone too, because remember, the entrance is not a straight line. You're coming in from an angle. That's a tough one, Justin Ruggier. Good luck, mate.
Yeah, poor Justin Rugger's got a little bit of work to do to figure that one out. That was a very hectic end of the race. So provisional results, thanks to Repco, Sam Blacklock. Well, that one we know. The rest, bit of a question mark. Josh Rogers second at the moment. Did he or didn't he move under brakes will be the question for what transpired with Jared Filsell. Josh Anderson, another potential podium here today. Andrew Gilliam drove well, stayed out of trouble. James Golding started on the pole, fell back down to 13th position. And Jackson Suzlin-Harlow, unfortunately not getting the points that he wanted there. And the BP team, didn't they have an absolute shocker in that one? Emily Jones, 21st. Forzen El Nabi turn around on the opening lap. All right, let's check in with our race winner, Sam Blacklock. Nicely done. Talk us through the emotions of winning a race in the eSeries. It was all happening behind you. What was your race like from your point of view?
I lost you there, guys.
Oh, we'll check you in one more time. Can you hear us there, Sam? You got us, buddy?
I can now.
Hey, well done, mate. Talk us through that one. Congratulations.
Yeah, it was a tough race. I didn't expect to get where we did off the start. I had a shocker with plenty of wheel spin. But yeah, just had some good car speed in the opening lap to clear the few cars ahead. And yeah, from then on, it was just head down, eyes forward. And Simon, my spotter, with the awesome strategy call to bring me in a bit later, worked wonders. And yeah, we're able to sit out front and stay there.
Yeah, Sam, talk about the overcut, because the talk of the town ahead of round one was everybody was going to go and undercut and end up getting that fresher rubber. But the overcut seems to work in these reverse grid races once all the pile-ups happen behind.
Yeah, I don't think it's so much that. I think it was more just waiting for the right moment. We knew that Muggleton was the effective leader, and if he was going to battle with the cars that had already pitted, then we knew that would be good for us. So we stayed out, waited for all that to go on, and yeah, just brought it in clean air and went from there.
Well done. Great drive. You did the 17 proud, mate. Congratulations, and best of luck for the third one later tonight.
Thanks, guys.
All right, well done, Sam Blacklock. Let's check out some Repco highlights for race number 2. And, yeah, always turns it on, doesn't it, the reverse grid race? Unfortunately for Forzen El Nabi, it lasted only down to the first corner. And there was so much to figure out what happened down there.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off. I was going to say, who shot the sheriff here? I couldn't quite catch that. Was that Muggleton involved? It was.
Yeah, definitely involved. So who knows? Maybe he wouldn't have kept the podium anyway in the end. There's going to be a lot for Justin Ruggier to unwind. And there was Forzen El Nabi out of business and upside down. So early leader was Golding, but then unfortunately he had issues. Phil Sell turned around the Cub Cadet car of Jackson Suzlin-Harlow, which is unfortunate for him, to say the least. How about this? The race to pit lane.
Hilarious stuff.
I've heard of the race off pit road, but never the race to get pit road. And somehow Emily Jones managed to just hang on to her race car down there. And then it was the Josh Rogers show, picking his way through the field, managed to get this one on Andrew Gilliam. Gilliam drove well, just stayed out of trouble. Drove a very smart race, actually, to pop up inside the top 5 at the end of the race. But what a drive that was, from last on the grid. And then how good did this battle get towards the end, past Josh Anderson, pushing a shove down the casino straight.
This was great, but then the incident later on is something to be questioned about, and our winner, Sam Blacklock, what a delight for him. Gets to win in his favourite driver's own car, and here was this controversial incident that can be discussed all day. And it's, I'll tell you what, the Walkinshaw boys have got a case there on their defensive.
Yeah, looking forward to hearing from our driving standards observer on that one. Sam Blacklock, the 21-year-old teammates member at Shell V-Power Racing, picks up the win, did his best Scott McLaughlin impersonation, and picks up 75 championship points in our reverse grid race tonight. So well done to the Shell V-Power Racing crew. All right, let's check in with poor Justin Ruggier, who has picked a hell of a first night on the job, mate. We're going to talk about first aid incident down to the hairpin. Can you elaborate as to who might be at fault?
Sorry, mate, you're breaking up a bit then.
We're having a bit of that tonight. What happened at the hairpin?
Mate, I feel like I've done the Bathurst 1000 tonight, so cheers for having me on. But yeah, look, obviously we're heavily reviewing that incident into the hairpin, but obviously from Josh's onboard, when he hit fuel cell, Fuel Cell sort of went a little bit defensive, but within his right. And yeah, Josh Rogers has made a bit of a meal out of it. So unfortunate to Fuel Cell and Muggleton. But yeah, there'll be something coming shortly.
Justin, it's Jonathan here. I'm looking back at the incident now on screen, and I'm thinking maybe that the Walkinshaw car of Rogers needs to take a bit more care making the move as much as Phil Sell was moving under braking. After we're discussing all this, do you think it's a racing incident, or do you still need some time to discuss this?
We definitely need some time, but as you know, high speed into a hairpin, obviously, care needs to be taken, and obviously the overlap. I think even without Jared there, I think he was probably going to even hit Muggleton anyway. So we just need to review it just a little bit more, just to have a look at the other cars and see what the go is. But obviously, Josh Rogers made, in my view, just a bit more of a review needed. Pretty big mistake, unfortunately.
All right. Thank you, Justin. Good to have very experienced eyes on the field tonight that you've got. So a lot of work to do. The good news is there's just one more race to go. So hopefully he doesn't have too much to worry about. All right. Do you think you've got what it takes to race against the best in the eSeries? Well, BP are offering one lucky driver a chance to compete for the BP Ultimate Team next year for the entire eSeries campaign. How cool is this? Go to the Supercars website, follow the prompts, and you could be racing in this beautiful BP Ultimate Mustang next year for the entire campaign. So go to the Supercars website, check it out, and this is your chance to be racing against the very best in the eSeries. All right, we need a quick break. We're off to Catalunya after this, so pack some sunscreen.
The Repco Supercars Pro eSeries, proudly brought to you by Coin. Be part of where the world is going.
Hi, it's these, thanks.
Good choice. That'd be $52.99, thanks.
Thanks.
Repco, it starts with the parts. From the outside, who would know what lies beneath? Unleash it with a machine as savage as you are.
This is how legends are made.
Lenovo Legion. Stylish outside, savage inside.
Hi, it's these, thanks.
Good choice. That'd be $52.99, thanks.
Thanks.
Repco, it starts with the parts.
The Repco Supercars Pro eSeries, proudly brought to you by Coin. Be part of where the world is going.
One of the coolest circuits in the world. We're off to Barcelona. Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, and the home of the Spanish Grand Prix. Has been since 1991. Very cool circuit. We dived in there for the All-Star eSeries when we invited Max Verstappen over, and that was really cool. SVG picked up both race wins. Jonathan's going to tell us what they're looking at tonight with our Repco race facts. Let's get into it.
So today's race 6 of the championship, 150 points for the winner. It's the longest event of the evening. The grid was actually sorted by qualifying. It wasn't based on accrued points. It's a 23.5-second transit time from the entrance into pit lane to the exit. Very similar strategy to Silverstone. The tyres do drop off here and the undercut can work in hot conditions. Bring your sunscreen because it's Spain, it's Barcelona. We also need to note as well that the pit window is laps 4 to 12. The tyres, Chad, could drop off a cliff from lap 12 onwards. Half the drivers are telling me that. Half are telling me that they plateau. We're going to find out who's lying in a few moments' time.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if we get anyone diving into pit lane on lap 1 like we do with a reverse grid race. You've got to play this on a bit longer.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to find out who's actually done the proper testing. At least I felt that the tyres plateaued after a certain time. I think the hotter track conditions are going to make it a little worse.
All right, so unlike last week where it was combined points into race 3 for the grid, this time out we had another coin qualifying session. Time to check out who's going to be starting on coin pole position and picking up another $500 worth of digital currency thanks to coin. It's this guy. That's $1,500 already. 3 out of 3, and the good times keep rolling for Josh Rogers, Jonathan.
He would have wished for this last year too. He had 3 pole positions last year. This is his 6th of 9 in attempts for his career. And Josh Rogers, again, is going to start from the front, but it's a long run down to turn 1 here, Chad. Very easy to lose positions at the beginning of this race.
Yeah, needs to nail this start, and also the braking point down there into turn 1. Cold tyres, cold brakes, all that is simulated in iRacing. Let's check out how they're going to be starting on our Seiko 5 race grid for the 3rd race of the night, race 6 of the championship. The front row, you could just about guess it. Probably easier than picking the winner of the Melbourne Cup. It's Josh Rogers and Dane Warren off the front row of the race. Behind the Madison Down, continuing his good form for R&J Batteries. Cooper Webster, his best qualifying of the season. Ditto that Jackson Suzlin Harlow. Jordan Caruso, some good lap pace earlier today as well. Richard Hamstead's going to be starting alongside Josh Anderson on the podium, that last one out. Jared Filsell with a little bit of work to do from 9th. This time it's a different BP car out of 10th and Forza El Nabi. Ethan Grigort loves the longer races. Will this suit his style? Jake Burton with the Brad Jones Racing Engineering team in his corner. Harley Haber and Brady Myers. Haven't seen too much of DJ Braids tonight in the Pioneer DJ car. Emily Jones out of 15th alongside poor Josh Muggleton, who was robbed in that last one. Job Stewart out of 17th tonight alongside the Truck Assist car. Jake Blackhall has had a quiet night so far. James Golding got his ears boxed in that last time out. Out of 21st, it's your race winner from the last race in Sam Blacklock alongside Kelly Racing's Ben Smith off the back row. That's your Seiko 5 starting grid as we queue them up in this awesome part of the world. We're about 30 minutes north of Barcelona, which is a bit southwest of where that guy's actually sitting right now in Germany, in a little town called Gronau. Most of the drivers obviously back here in Australia, most of which on the eastern seaboard as well, as we get set for the 3rd race of the night. Race 6 of the championship. A Walkinshaw Andretti United lockout, back where Michael Andretti picked up his first Formula 1 points in 1993. We go racing in the eSeries, and it's a little virtual Summonat session down there for Dane Warren. He lights up the rear tyres, and he is going nowhere. Look at him falling back through the pack. 6, 7, 8, 9 spots he's lost before they even get anywhere near the first corner. And that's going to cost him some points. And there goes Jake Burton for a slide. Actually, it was Suzlin Harlow, and he did a good job to catch it. Harley Haber's getting a bit of a knock from Dane Warren as we go through the long right-hander. A difficult course to drive a supercar with these big, long Formula 1 style corners. And that was an exciting start, but a bad one for Dane Warren. His teammate got an absolute ripper.
A lot of hip and shoulder here on the opening lap. DJ Brady Myers off the racetrack and into the gravel. But for Dane Warren, he couldn't have picked a worse racetrack to get a bad getaway. A 700-meter run from pole position to turn 1, one of the longest of the season. And he's now got an immense amount of work to do all the way down in P11.
20 laps around here is a lot of work. Need to think about some level of tyre conservation, particularly after the pit stops have happened. This is a really aggressive move from Filsell. He's been on the charge tonight. And through he goes on El Nabi, who's had an absolute shocker. Been at the back of both the races. Podium at Belle Isle, trying to get some form back. Big, heavy braking down into the left-hander. That looked like it was going to be really bad. They worked it out just in time.
This is the historic layout of Barcelona. So it's not the Grand Prix or MotoGP venue. It's the old MotoGP venue, the old F1 layout they used to use, which is why you're going to see them skip this little tiptoe chicane and on towards this exhilarating final corner and ending the first lap, as they can also put two wheels on the anti-cut strip. We saw Max Verstappen doing that in the All-Stars eSeries, and it's actually very quick in these cars.
I think we can all agree that we like seeing that last chicane out of play and just watch them run through that last corner. Such a cool bit of racetrack. Look at the slipstream games down the front straight. We saw plenty of moves from Max Verstappen and Shane van Gisbergen down here in the All-Stars eSeries. Might even try and compare some lap times for you a bit later on to show you how they compared to the Supercars Pro drivers, the All-Stars.
Nabi, I'm actually glad he got through lap 1.
Yeah,
let's see if he can get through lap 2 now, because it's been a processional night for him.
We're talking about Nabi's seating position, how close he sits to the screens last week. He was quick to message us to say that he's not actually sitting that close, just that he's got curved screens, which really make it look like he's in the game, so to speak.
Very funny, though, when you look at it. Got to admit.
Yeah.
I could have a laugh at myself if I saw myself up that close. There's that little anti-cut strip that was added about 10 years ago, just to stop the cars from running off the racetrack. And this corner didn't actually exist in Formula One. It was post around 1995. They used to use that longer. There you can see on the right-hand side, it was called Nissan. And then now they just extended this onto a straight to aid overtaking. Ironically, didn't really do much as Jove Stewart takes to the red tarmac runoff. And a lot of those inside curves here, Chad, it's actually slower to put two wheels onto them, so you might as well stick to the darkened tarmac.
Harley Haber in the middle of this fight, as is the Shannon's insurance car of Ethan Griggle, whizzing through the last corner onto the front straight. And such a cool opportunity to make some moves. No DRS in the supercars, if you're wondering, but the boards are still out there in iRacing.
Some drivers had it at Montreal, just dislodged the rear wing. It probably wasn't even damaged. They just pressed a button.
Off it goes.
James Bond style.
Down to the first corner. Cooper Webster with some pressure on right now. Josh Anderson in behind him. Ethan Griggle, like we said, loves the endurance races. We're right on board with him right now. 7th at the moment. Time management, one of his advantages.
Benjamin Smith has been first to blink, and he's opened up the strategy, so I was afraid of this. Whoever comes in first is going to open up the strategy for everyone else, so we could see a flurry of pit stops over the next 5 laps.
Another Seiko 5 fastest lap for Josh Rogers, a 1:43.6. So how does that compare to the All-Stars? Cooler track conditions. We saw Anton De Pasquale do a 42 flat in qualifying trim. So that's, the lap times are hugely different when the track conditions are different around here.
You found something hilarious over the week?
Just having a bit of a read up on the circuits and the history, I stumbled across some pretty good Google reviews tonight. My favorite Google review for Catalunya. Yeah. Great to come here every year for testing, but it's the only track I go to where I can't get a beer. Madness. 4 stars.
They got to come to Australia.
You wouldn't have that problem at any racetrack in Australia.
No way. Even at the abandoned ones, they probably got beer being sold.
They love a beer in Barcelona. I'm surprised by that. There you go. It's a circuit very much on my wish list to get to one day, particularly for MotoGP.
You go to Calder Park at 4 a.m. There's probably beers being sold.
Someone will serve you a beer out of a little Bob Jane tent somewhere, which would be pretty cool. I was in Barcelona once when MotoGP was on and couldn't get to the race. It was as painful as you can imagine that was.
Wow.
Yeah. Rogers down, Hampstead, the top 3s. The games begin here with Suzel and Harlow on the defensive here from Penrite Racing. And Job Stewart just ducking in behind him. Now they're fighting over 13th at the moment. Job's got a little bit of overlap, but not enough.
His window opens this lap by as well.
Okay. So far, Ben Smith, the only driver to have pitted, going to have some nice, clean racetrack at the moment.
So you're allowed to do that, run off over the anti-cut strip. Now, whether it's quicker, we can discuss another day, but some drivers will opt to do that. So that is allowed. You won't accrue incident points. You're allowed 25 for this event. That's what race director James Cowan has allowed in the supplementary regulations. As Dane Warren still trying to make amends for his poor start. Down to 11th, up a couple of positions. Now up the inside of Jared Filsell. Right behind him is a huge squabble. Muggleton has copped the short straw tonight, and somebody else has gone spearing off into the barrier with him. right where Mika Hakkinen retired the car on the final lap around 20 years ago. And that is most certainly a Lenovo Savage moment.
Well, it's certainly big enough to warrant the highest of honours tonight. Let's check this one out once more.
Oh, the truck assist car came steaming in.
Oh. So one whack was enough to send him sideways. And look at that, 3 wide. Muggleton goes wheel to wheel and off the track again. Is there an unluckier driver that we've had in the E-Series than Josh Muggleton? Every week he seems to be on the wrong side of the lucky stick.
Jared Filsell, I would say, too.
Yep.
But yeah, you're right. Muggleton is... Oh, I can't be bothered talking about it, man. It's that bad.
Every week he seems to be getting shoved off the racetrack by someone. Everyone's ganging up on the oldest guy in the field. Anyway, back with it. The Bryce Fullwood car in the hands of Dane Warren. Again with Jared Filsell. These two are just permanently all over each other in this series.
So Brady Myers is into the lane.
Has Filsell had a race tonight where he hasn't had a Walkinshaw car in his mirrors? Every single lap he's like, oh, another Walkinshaw car, great.
You would think that's a good sign, but they're battling here for...
Whoa! How's the inside locking from Ethan Gould as well? That left front dragging all the way down.
Oh, they're still alongside each other. These are tough corners coming up because they're off camber. Uphill rise in the traction zone here through 7. Hammer down the throttle over the anti-cut strip, and a brilliant move by Warren as they head to Capsa corner.
I just saw a shot of Harley Haber pulled over on the side of the road and has found himself back in pit lane.
Probably pressed the escape button.
Yeah, so he pulled over and got out of there, which is an unusual one.
I'll have to find out what happened to the Matt Stone Racing driver.
Flicking up the cones are copping it now.
This circuit is, this part of the circuit's actually part of the FIA World Rallycross Championship. This is, you can see the dirt there, just some of the gravel that they use in Rallycross, and the Joker lap is right around here where these little chicanes are.
You call the Rallycross action as well, don't you, on iRacing?
Very exciting stuff.
Do they race here at Barcelona on the iRacing?
I've been actively pursuing.
Trying to get it on the calendar?
Exactly. Trying to get them to make the actual circuit first. It's either Barcelona or Spa, I would guess, would be the next European venue to come up. They've got Hell Lunkenbanen up, which is an awesome track in Norway.
While we're quickly talking about some other series, we'll give a shout out to the NASCAR guys who finished their eNASCAR Championship today. Nick Ottinger winning on 3 green-white checkers to get $100,000. And that is real cold hard cash that he's picked up over there in America. So well done to Nick, winning the eNASCAR series. And there's some money up for grabs here as well in Australia. Josh Rogers is about to take one step closer to that money tonight and go potentially to the points lead, and also looking for back-to-back championships.
So last week he had his teammate Dane Warren all up the rear end, as we see Jordan Caruso on the left-hand side, if you couldn't identify by the signature, which I will have a guess that he's actually grabbed a Sharpie and actually drawn that up himself. And then you got Richard Hampstead to the right, who is the least looking IT guy I've ever seen in my life, but he works as an IT salesman. Actually, I take that back. From this angle, he does look like an IT guy.
I was going to say, I've got to disagree with you there, Jonathan.
I think it was when he's turning left.
Yeah.
Oh, turning right, sorry. I can't tell from the mirror.
The headset and the glasses are a bit of a giveaway. I'll give you that.
He's a very good guy, is Richard Hampstead. Very smart. Knows his stuff. We got a tour of his sim last week during the coverage.
Yep, top of the draft as well this year, so entered the pre-season draft, was not nominated, and then Tickford picked him up nice and early, and was that Hampstead diving into the pits? Yep. It was, so that is a power play from Tickford to bring him in early.
So I was about to say before, Rogers had Dane Warren up his alley the entire race. Now strategy's open for Rogers, same so for Madison Down, but look at Jordan Caruso and Cooper Webster. At least on our timing screen, we can see they're within about a second of each other, and the undercut here is worth around a second. So they can't make the mistake as they did at Silverstone in that pit party. Here are a few cars in the lane.
Yes,
you can identify that they're using the limiter by the flashing lights. Otherwise, if we're on board, you'll see the rev limiter flash as well. Quick stop for Richard Hampstead, 9.9 seconds. Phil Sell follows with a 9.2 second stop.
Hampstead has Jake Maloney as his spotter, was 4th in the draft and was incredibly unlucky to not get a seat in the E-Series this year, given how well he did in the draft. Well, that's aggressive. Dane Warren and Greg Gould trying to leave the door open for him. That was good racing. Side by side, down the bottom of the hill. He's still up the inside here, Dane Warren. And just about runs him out of road, but they stay side by side. Again, cool fight this one. Top of the hill, turn 9. Ethan Grigott holds on for now.
What a cracking scrap.
It's a good fight. Side by side again. That's Grigott on the left-hand side of the boxes down the bottom anyway. Right-hand side of the racetrack, and he hangs on for now down at the turn 10 hairpin. Good fight. At the moment, they're fighting for 6 on the racetrack, but there is one car who has pitted out of that pack, or actually maybe 2 with Jared Filsell to factor into it. Well, that was pretty tight.
And he dives into the lane, so rightly so. Don't want to lose too much time battling with Dane Warren. This will be a quick pit stop, as we spoke about, 23.5-second transit time. It's an 80-kilometre-an-hour pit speed limit here. It's one of the quickest all season. Here's Emily Jones battling it out with Benjamin Smith, who's running a new livery, the Ned Racing livery that Andre Heimgartner ran in 2020.
Believe it or not, this is the first time that Emily Jones has raced a supercar here in iRacing at Barcelona. So typically has done all the other circuits, but has never been in a race here at Barcelona. So first time for her. Does say that she goes really well in GT Sport, which is Gran Turismo here, but iRacing a bit new for her tonight on this track.
I would say that's probably because this circuit was released last year, so I don't blame her. It was released about 12 months ago. But
which is also why it didn't feature in our series last year. Neither did Montreal, actually. So 2 new series, 2 new tracks for the Pro E-Series tonight.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, is that
that's tight. The Blacklock and Black Hall. That's a commentator's nightmare going through turns 1 and 2. And DJ Braids around the outside in the Pioneer DJ car. It's DJ versus DJR at the moment. I like that. And Blacklock's going to have a look at the top. No, not quite enough overlap to make that one stick. So Black Hall holds on for now. Here he is right now. DJ Braids, we've been calling him, in the Pioneer DJ car.
Pioneer DJ, he's set up that room as if he's selling some DJ equipment at like 2 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, he's going to be spinning some tunes for us all night.
Exactly. Go to your local train station and the next DJ store you see is going to contain Brady Myers at the counter.
He's it was last year's top pick in the draft. Couldn't quite put it all together. Has been playing with the hardware on that sim this week.
And Rogers has entered the lane, Chad. And this is going to be a pit party, 100%.
It's a pit party again, like last week. Dane Warren goes around one more lap, so someone's going to have a crack at it. Good to see. Forzen El Nabi follows him.
Good job, Josh Rogers, using the pit limiter. Now, remember, you can't actually use more other than first gear, I should say, in the pit lane. You've got to use first throughout the entire transit, from the yellow entrance cones to those green exit cones that you see. Quick stop for Rogers, 9.8. And let's see the rejoin.
All right. So where is he going to pop out? He's going to be relatively clear down at turn 1. So comfortable at the moment. Aggressive early stop from Madison down, but couldn't quite get close to the Mobile One Appliances Online Commodore. Nearly halfway home in the opening race of the, the closing race of the second round of the championship. See how wide they run over the curb. Now, Dane Warren's picked up 12 incident points already, something to watch out for as well. You're allowed 25 in this race.
All that
so nearly halfway there.
Sorry, Chad, I thought you were done. All that tarmac runoff was introduced ahead of the 2008 season here for whatever motor racing series, whether it's Formula 1 or other MotoGP or a different series race here. Rallycross has been here since 2015. And so even this anti-cut strip that you're seeing at turn 7, that was added ahead of the 2011 race, so just about 9 years ago. So this circuit has gone through so many modifications over the years, and it's evolved to what you've seen today. But the original blueprint is pretty similar. As Jared Filsell, who's been everywhere this evening, and despite him having some incidents, I've still been impressed with his pace, which is most important to me. And Triple Eight will be happy with that too. As Dane Warren, Forzen El Nabi and Jake Burton enter the lane for their one compulsory pit stop. And they're joined by Andrew Gilliam. So quick stops for El Nabi, Burton and Gilliam. Where are they going to feed out in relation to everybody else? These are critical championship points for Forzen El Nabi, who's had a horrid round 2, and it's going to be tough to make up. Last year in 2019, we had drop rounds, and there's none of that here in 2020. So every race matters up until the final race at the end of round 6 in a few weeks' time. Dane Warren takes the lead at the moment, followed by Stewart, Suslin, Harlow, and Muggleton. They are your 4 who are yet to make their compulsory pit stop.
All right. So long run for Dane Warren. It's worked for a few drivers. Interesting to see some different strategies tonight, which is what we're hoping for with these longer races. A few different ways to play it.
I don't think anyone will go beyond lap 12. I think Muggleton will come in lap 11, or it's got to come in lap 11 or 12, but I think he'll come in 12 specifically. He talked about these tyres falling off a cliff, which I disagree with. I do feel like they plateau at a certain point around lap 4 or 5.
Back to Job Stewart, high school student from Mount Gambier. How cool is this? As part of Erebus's junior academy, he not only races for Erebus in the Toyota 86 series, the Toyota Gazoo Racing Australia 86 series, so he was on the grid at Bathurst a couple of weeks ago there. They picked him up out of go-karts a few years ago, about 4 years ago, as Suslin Harlow comes into the pits, and now he gets a chance to compete for them in the eSeries as well. So already in the last 2 years, we're seeing more and more crossover between real racing experience and sim races, and that seems to be a growing trend.
And last year, as I'm keeping track of Susan Harlow's pit stop, Dane Warren and I and Brady Myers were walking back to our hotel room last year after media day, and I'm getting to a point here. And I remember Dane Warren just said to me randomly, now he might have had a few beers in him, I will admit, as Jordan Caruso makes his way up the inside of Cooper Webster. But he said, sim racing has gotten me more in my racing career than karting ever has. Wow. And it struck me in a way to say, hey, okay, that's very interesting. Dane Warren has got more success, more access to motorsport through sim racing than he did through his own motorsport commitments through karting.
And a lot of the drivers out there have got kart experience behind them as well, including Josh Rogers, who appeared at a few of the Australian Kart Championship rounds. Probably half of the field have competed in the Australian Karting Championship as well, which is the highest level of karting that you can get to in the country. But that's where a lot of that experience drops off. So some of them have stepped into lower-end state-level motorsport, like XLs, for example. Quite a few of them are raced XLs. Some of them have done Aussie racing cars. Madison Down, one of them, he competed at the Sydney 500 a few years ago. I mean, Josh Anderson, like we've been saying, is leading that championship at the moment. But a while ago, it felt like the drivers that we were seeing in our eSeries were only gamers, and they weren't stepping out into the real world of motorsport.
And some drivers you do speak to, it's very weird. They aren't interested in getting into motorsport. But some are, like Jake Burton, for example, his interest, the reason he's in sim racing is he enjoys it. He wants to compete at the top level, but he wants a path into motorsport. And that's something when I race, I mean, I don't sim race anymore. I don't have the time. I can't be bothered with it. But I initially just wanted to race in the real world. And I got to a point in my life when I said, okay, I've got a job now, and, you know, can't really spend time on the computer as much. Do other stuff.
Who doesn't want to race cars for real, you know?
Exactly. And I said, you know what? There's no opportunity for me to go in the real world. Focus on other stuff. But some of these drivers are getting a great opportunity through the Supercars eSeries.
Particularly Jake Burton, who's on the attack right now and putting the pressure on the back of Emily Jones. These two are good buddies. They raced together last year in the Pro eSeries. BJR retaining the services of Jake Burton and keeping the Dunlop stickers on that car. And further to that point, he turned a race win in this series last year into a Supercars test drive, which was just an awesome thing to see out at Winton.
And these two are good friends, so this won't end well. Oh, Jake,
that was tight. Had the rear end dancing up into the big long right-hander in the first sector. Someone turn 4.
Someone will mute the other here if they hit each other on their Facebook Messenger.
Down into turn 5. The track runs downhill. Really cool part of the track. Turn 6, now 7. Burton versus Jones. Run up the S's, turn 8. Fast turn 9. This is 4th gear, 145 k's an hour. And right on the edge of grip, all the way to the exit. Run over a little bit of the green concrete at the edge of the road. And then big stop down here. Let's look over the shoulder now of one of the best in the field, Brad Jones Racing, and just immerse yourself in this iRacing environment. driving that thing as straight as possible, trying to hang on to some tyre life for the last 7 or 8 laps in this race. Now, there has been some other pit stops, and the field has, as we say, cleansed itself now. And we have a bit more of an idea what the order's going to be like towards the checkered flag.
Dane Warren's come in. So has Josh Muggleton. And a couple others as well. And they've made their final 1 compulsory pit stop here. Your BP Ultimate pit stops. As Dane Warren's got a bit of work to do here. He's going to have to make some overtakes stick out on track as we watch Richard Hampstead currently fighting for a podium position. He's right behind Jordan Caruso in the 3rd spot. Cooper Webster searching for a podium himself in the Guile Seiko 5 livery.
Yeah, Cooper Webster, another one of those drivers with plenty of real-world experience, was testing an S5000 this week at Winton, which is really cool. So trying to get a bit of open wheel experience.
Who was that, sorry, Webster?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, I didn't check his message when he messaged me back. He probably said that to me.
He's probably currently testing at Winton, can't talk. So, but that's, you know, the classic story of a driver right now like Cooper Webster who's trying to balance all of the things that a young driver has to do right now in this series, which is study, schooling, plus get out there and try and push the real racing career, and then find the time that you need to be able to compete in this series and be fast as well. So remember, he's just 17 years of age, attending Assumption College, Kilmore. And work in the back right now of Richard Hampstead, who's chasing down Jordan Caruso.
We had shots of Jake Burton before. You know, he's 6'5". He could play. He should be playing basketball. He should. You think
very tall for a sim racer?
He's very, very tall, even for a motorsport racer too. Driver, I should say, more specifically. As this battle for the podium is important. I think the first 2 positions are quite sealed right now between Josh Rogers and Madison Down. Another touchdown for him, you could say, in a sense. Oh, and have a look at this, Sam Blacklock and Andrew Gillian.
Whoa! Trying to get that thing back onto the track, and in the background, BJR versus Erebus. And that is tight between Suzlin Harlow, and just managed to get that through. Here comes Blacklock again around the outside of the truck assist car. This is an almighty scrap. They've swapped a bit of virtual paint in this one. Doors are absolutely beaten and bashed. They've been side by side for half a lap. And all the way under brakes, he finally gets that move done. Well done, Sam Blacklock. Poured the pressure on for half a lap and got it done. How cool's the triple screen setup for Andrew Gilliam?
I thought he was going to go up the inside, because there's 4 drivers here. It reminded me of when Barrichello passed the Schumacher brothers many years ago. But it's all kept clean. But you're right, triple screens are, some people like them, some people aren't fussed with them. I've tried them before, and I never really look at the left and right side screens. I'm very aware with my mirror anyway as a driver, but some drivers do prefer them. And here's Job Stewart, return serve potentially, but cleanly.
On Mac, yeah, well, it's going to be all the way down to the outside of Jackson Suzlin Harlow. If he can make it stick. Oh, that was tight. They somehow get through there side by side, and Stewart makes that one count. So they've swapped spots a few times in the last lap. So good mid-pack scrap at the moment. Josh Rogers doing it easy out in front from Madison Down and Jordan Caruso, the top 3. Caruso, Hampstead and Webster in a pretty good fight, and then we find this battle pack fighting outside the top 10 spots. But for valuable points in this series, this has been a pretty good drive from Blacklock when he started back down on the last row of the grid, I think it was. Didn't get a lap in qualifying, and he has been moving up the pack. Gee, James Golding's car's seen better days. Here comes Josh Muggleton. Funny story about Josh Muggleton at the moment is he has a brand new screen and is struggling because the settings in iRacing right now have this at early morning. Half the track he's got glare, and he's saying that it's like doing the virtual climb dance at home right now, where he's trying to put his hand up across his face to try and combat the glare off his brand new screen.
He'll be combating the glare off those neon lights in the back of his shot too.
That tricks the setup. And here he is putting the pressure on his old buddy and the guy he drove for last year in Jake Blackhall, and that was a nice move. He sized that one up beautifully down at the hairpin and makes it stick.
And here's the highest point of the circuit on the exit of turn 12. Then it's a 30-meter drop to the lowest point at the apex of turn 1. James Golding here's got his work cut out for him. He's got 2 very strong sim racers hungry behind. Here's Dane Warren, who's made his way past Jared Filsell. 2 positions after his pit stop. He's got a few laps remaining to get into the top 5. Is it possible?
Nicely done. So driving up through the pack at the moment. Another one of the drivers who said they wish they could have got a little bit more time in at the moment, but uni exams and assignments this time of year, trying to juggle all of that for Dane Warren right now is a big task. As Muggleton makes that move stick down at the end of the front straight. So cool to have an experienced driver like James Golding with 75 real-world supercar starts going toe-to-toe with the very best in the eSeries world. And while we haven't seen the best out of Josh Muggleton on iRacing, he was very good at Gran Turismo. Whoa, this is on him. Blacklock sideways, potentially contact, which sent him wide, and he's going to lose 2 or 3 spots.
So after his race win, he's had a race to forget here at Barcelona, and he's still alongside Jackson Sluizen-Harlow, and the Brad Jones Racing driver somehow saves that Cub Cadet Mowers Commodore. I don't know how he got that pointing in a straight line, and does that look like a slowdown for Andrew Gilliam?
He backed out of it a little bit and put it on a pretty strange part of the racetrack for a normal racing line, and is easily overtaken down at the hairpin. You know what that might be? That might be a redress. I wonder if he hit him earlier in the lap and he's tried to redress it. Yeah, I think that's what that was, judging by that one. He's going to lose 2, though, as the Cub Cadet guy goes through. So this is how that all started. Repco replay. 2 wheels in the dirt to start with. Couldn't get the car pulled up. And down heavily under brakes at turn 4, I think that was, turned him around.
So
turn 5, I should say, sorry.
Yeah, turn 5, yep. Correct. So Justin Rugia's got a little bit less work to do there, unless he's actually asked to do that, which I don't think so. But here is Benjamin Smith now, and Jackson Sluizen-Harlow is going backwards because Brady Myers now is trying to make his way up the inside. Will he cop a slowdown for touching the grass? I don't think so. And on towards turn 3, which is, look at this on board on the right-hand side. It's an endless tug-of-war match with the racetrack. It's constant understeer that you're fighting. You've got to be so patient on the throttle. And this is where Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton clashed in 2016. No clash this time out, a fair clash. And supercars like that. We like a bit of argy-bargy.
That was a cool move. The 19-year-old Andrew Gilliam moves up another spot, made that move across from the Boost Mobile colours to Truck Assist tonight. Studying a Masters in Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering at the University of Queensland. So he's a pretty cluey kid, and he'll be another one of these drivers trying to mix study and racing at the moment. And well done to Tickford on picking up such a cool character in Andrew Gilliam tonight to be a part of their series. Very quick in qualifying last week. Couldn't quite keep that qualifying form together, but doesn't mind having a crack. And here he goes again to the inside of Jackson Sluizen-Harlow, side by side.
What is that on the wall?
It looks like a hoodie or something, but I can't quite tell.
I thought it was the head of something without the head. There's like you know those beanies they wear in winter without the head? I might be seeing stuff.
Either way, it's a warm night at the moment on the Gold Coast, so he's rocking the shorts
and Dane
looking
Warren,
very comfy.
Dane Warren up another position now. So brilliant stuff by Dane Warren after his absolute poor getaway off the line.
Yeah, it's been a salvage job, this one. Dane Warren is slowly but surely pulling his way back up through the field. How about this? 3 wide down into the first turn. And Brady Myers tried to split the difference. There's a bit of a knock and banging over the big sausage curbs and losing plenty of time. Sluizen-Harlow. And this looks like I give in.
Oh, wow, that's not a good sign. But that would be a 1.5 second slowdown and potentially a bit of a rage quit there. But I don't want to call him out on it because I have been incorrect on that in the past. So we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Here's a replay of it as Brady Myers tried to split himself between the two. Someone's going to have to concede through here. You can barely make it 2 wide, and Sluizen-Harlow came off worse, and you cut the anti-cut strips there, and the iRacing service will automatically tell you to slow down 1.5 seconds. Bit of history for you too. That corner, Michael Schumacher in 2012 went up the rear end of Bruno Senna, copped a 5-place penalty the next round at Monaco, where Michael Schumacher qualified on pole, and I still feel like it is the unluckiest penalty in history because that could have been Michael Schumacher's final victory. Pole at Monaco it's tough to pass at that circuit. He had to start from 6th.
True. And a guy with a lot of history around here. Nigel Mansell won the first race back in '91 around here in the Williams. It's the home of testing for Formula One. This year's Barcelona race wasn't an all-time classic, but there has been some pretty good ones here over the past. It is a high aero style circuit.
Like which? Which races were good?
The one where the two Mercs took each other out. That was a classic.
And that
every
is
time.
my answer.
Yeah. Oh, and Pastor Maldonado's win as well. That was pretty crazy.
Even that year, Lewis Hamilton had pole position, but he was disqualified for not having fuel in the car.
So lots of exciting moments. It'd be cool to see an actual supercars race here. Of course, not a typical supercar style circuit with the amount of long radius corners that you have. Obviously suited to the more street circuit style tracks.
I do think the car is fun to drive around here. In terms of racing today, you're right. Supercars, we generally like short radius corners and straights and street circuits and that kind of stuff. So the Grand Prix venues such as Catalonia, which is a test venue, which makes it a little worse, can be troubling. And here's Madison down through this. It's such a great ride through this corner. Imagine the real thing. And then he's going to spot his brake marker into turn 10 as he sees the 30, the 20, the 10, and the Madison touchdown into the braking zone.
Nice. Here comes the fight for third, and it's on once again. So Jordan Caruso was pretty strong last week and was really quick at Silverstone in the longer races. Richard Hampstead here with a chance to pick up a good bunch of points for Tickford. Picked up a second place finish on the opening night of last year's eSeries, but didn't feature back on the podium after that. So a chance to get himself back onto the podium for the first time in over 12 months in the Pro eSeries. That's what's up for grabs here. That's Madison down with the virtual reality headset on and a couple of trophies in the background as well.
So pretty cool. Final lap, I've been very impressed by Jordan Caruso, the 20-year-old, who's going to score a podium in the final race, not only last week at Silverstone, but today at Barcelona. He's definitely impressed for Repco Racing, but is he going to hold the podium against Hampstead, Chad? That's the question.
Yeah, can he hold on to this one and go 2 in 2 weeks for the Repco Mustang? Got the Monster Energy car all over the back of him, just like Shane Van Gisbergen at Bathurst earlier this year. Rogers now out to 5.4 seconds. Very handy lead. Some drivers getting pretty close in the incident points. Caruso 21, Dane Warren 21, 25 is the maximum. So Caruso just needs to keep that in the back of his mind on this last lap as well.
And it's not entirely accurate, as we know. That's just based off GPS data. But it's as close to accurate as we can get. Josh Rogers, despite having latency, is only on 8, and he's had a very calm and quick race. This will be a brilliant victory for him. His 12th of his career in 22 races.
Just putting it together every single time at the moment. Could just about take a MotoGP long lap around here and still hold on to the victory today. He's a VRS Co-Anda Sim Sport driver, moved to Germany to chase his esports dream. Retained at Walkinshaw Andretti United as the champion from last year. He's been on iRacing now for 6 years, has a ranking of 9.4 thousand, which is incredibly high. And he is going to clock up another race win in the Repco Supercars Pro eSeries, and 150 points to Josh Rogers. Job done. So smooth, so calm, so dominant. And Madison down, another strong podium for him tonight. And he's had a different spotter working with him and Brock Salmon, so that's a good job. Well done, and a breath of relief for Madison down, getting that podium spot. And Jordan Caruso, well done to him on 3rd position tonight. Hampstead 4th, and Cooper Webster inside the top 5. In car 5, Dane Warren's recovery job only up to 6 in the end, but that was pretty good considering where he was down at turn 1. But what else is there to say about this guy? Just ticking off the race wins and back in the Repco points lead once again. Here's your Repco race score. Catalonia. And after 20 grueling laps, it's Josh Rogers picking up just about everything there is to win at the moment. He picked up the fastest lap in that one as well, the only driver into the 1:43, so comfortably the quickest driver out there. And Caruso back on the podium, 2nd in 2 weeks for him. Jackson Suzlin-Harlow, oh, that was a heartbreaker. He showed so much pace, but just had his ears boxed in every single corner, it felt like. Harley Haber, we saw him slow early in the race as well. And Ethan Greg-Gould, didn't see exactly what happened to Ethan early in that race, but unfortunately, it was DNF. All right, Repco highlights for the 3rd and final race of the night, race 6 of the championship. And that was a shocker for Dane Warren.
Good reaction time, but something else went wrong for Warren. So I didn't see too much wheel spin, but these drivers do use a line locker. and it was the longest run down to turn 1 of the season. Suzlin Harlow was involved in some contact, and everybody else kept it clean behind as they all scuttled through the first couple of corners. Argy-bargy here again, Job Stewart bullying his way past a couple of cars, and then everybody else came swarming and off into the wall. The truck assist car of Gilliam and Muggleton, who's had an unlucky day.
This was a really, really good battle. This is Andrew Gilliam going toe-to-toe with Sam Blacklock. They were side by side for probably 5 or 6 corners, easily half a lap. They swapped spots a few times, banging doors, arguing over the side draft, leaning on each other through the fast, high aero parts of the track. And finally, they managed to separate themselves after the better part of half a lap. Andrew Gilliam finishing this race in 14th, Blacklock in 12th, split by Kelly Racing's Ben Smith. And also Job Stewart, who bought himself in the ticket to that fight. So we did see that little moment which gave Gilliam the spot. He did redress that one and then fell back into the clutches of Brady Myers. And then poor Jackson Suzlin Harlow, who got shoved across the road, bumped across the curbs, and decided to tap out.
So that was it. The race went to Josh Rogers, 12th of his career, as we said, in 22 races on the iRacing version of the Supercars eSeries. And it was a brilliant one by the now, not German citizen, but the now German resident.
Yeah, and picking up another 150 points and smoking up the Dunlop tyres to celebrate another race win in the Repco Supercars Pro eSeries. Well, it's fantastic to have Repco on as the naming rights sponsor of Supercars for the next 5 seasons. And now in partnership with Supercars, they want you to have your say on the sport.
Repco has an amazing history in trans-Tasman motorsport.
And the future looks just as exciting.
The countdown starts now for the 2021 Repco Supercars Championship.
Featuring Australia's great race, the Repco Bathurst 1000.
We want to hear from you, the fans.
Tell us about you and why you love the sport. Come on, tell us what you really think.
Not hard to feel that history that Repco has with the sport, and definitely an exciting future as well. All right, well, our Lenovo top performer, we want to hear from you on this survey as well. So get onto Facebook tomorrow. It's between Josh Rogers, Sam Blacklock and Madison Down. Which of those 3 drivers were the best tonight? Tough to pick, but Josh Rogers has been so dominant so far.
Certainly was. He used the pit limiter this round, so you can't really complain, can you?
Yeah, very much so. So very quick so far. Thank you to Jonathan. Thank you to you, and also to poor Justin Ruggie, who's been a very, very busy guy tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun as we get ready to go next week. Bathurst is calling. The mountain is calling. It's going to be the mini enduro. We want to have your coverage for this one next Tuesday. We hope you can join us for that one. We'll see you there.
Just like it was in the All-Stars. From a long way back, oh, he skittles the whole pack. We go racing in the eSeries, race 6 of the championship.
Now up the inside of Jared Philsell, Muggleton has copped a short straw tonight.
The Repco Supercars Pro eSeries is proudly brought to you by Pagnian, official reseller of Next Level Racing and Thrustmaster products.